Family gatherings are supposed to feel warm. This one felt like a trial. The sun outside was bright, the neighborhood quiet, the air soft with the smell of afternoon tea. Yet inside my parents' living room, tension hung so thick you could almost touch it. The meeting had been scheduled for a Sunday. That should have been my first warning. My father did not call family meetings for discussion. He called them to announce decisions already made. He simply dressed them up as collective conversations. I sat on my mother's floral couch, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that had long gone cold. The familiar cushions felt different that day, less comforting, more like a waiting room before bad news. Across the room, my brother Eric paced near the fireplace. Back and forth, back and forth. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. The kind of expression someone wears when they already know they've won. His wife, Shannon, sat beside him, hands resting protectively over her stomach. She looked tired, anxious, but also quietly expectant, as if this meeting was already going to deliver something she needed. If you're listening right now, don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this, because what started as a simple family meeting turned into a legal, emotional, and moral battlefield. My father cleared his throat. He stood tall, shoulders squared, posture rigid like a corporate executive addressing a boardroom. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice steady, rehearsed, controlled. No warmth. No hesitation. "We need to discuss the downtown apartment situation." The apartment. Three simple words that carried years of history, memories, and unspoken assumptions. 1247 Westbrook Avenue. A two-bedroom unit in a modest but valuable building my grandfather had purchased in 1987. It had been in our family for decades at least. That's what everyone believed. For the past 4 years, that apartment had been my home. I paid the utilities. I contributed a monthly fee to what my father called the family trust. I treated the place with care, repainting walls, fixing fixtures, maintaining the space like someone who expected to live there long-term. It was more than just a unit. It was stability. My workplace. My refuge. My life. My father continued, his tone smooth and decisive. "Eric and Shannon are expecting their first child. They need more space than their current one-bedroom can provide." Shannon placed a hand on her stomach again, almost on cue. My father turned toward me. "Meanwhile, Cassie, you have 2 bedrooms all to yourself." I set my coffee down slowly. "I use the second bedroom as a home office," I said calmly. "I work remotely 3 days a week." My mother barely looked at me. "You can work from a coffee shop," she replied casually. "Young people do that all the time." The words stung more than I expected. My job was not a hobby. It was my career. My independence. My livelihood. But my father pressed on as if I hadn't spoken. "Eric is starting a family. The apartment makes more sense for them. We've decided you'll move out by the end of the month. That gives you 4 weeks to find something else." The room went silent. I felt heat rise in my chest. "You've decided?" I repeated slowly. My father didn't flinch. "The family has decided," he corrected. "We're doing what's best for everyone." Eric finally stopped pacing. He turned toward me, arms crossed. "Come on, Cass," he said with a half smile. "Don't make this difficult. You're single. No kids. You have a good job. You can rent anywhere." Shannon leaned forward slightly. "And you make more than we do," she added. "Eric told me about your salary. You'll be fine." My jaw tightened. Eric had no business discussing my income with anyone, especially when he was guessing, not knowing. "My finances are not open for family debate," I said firmly. My father cut in immediately. "When it affects family resources, they are." He folded his hands on the coffee table. "The apartment belongs to the family trust. Your grandfather intended it to serve the family's needs. Right now, Eric and Shannon need it most." Something inside me shifted. Did anyone actually check what Grandpa wrote in the trust documents? I asked. My mother waved dismissively. "Your father manages the trust. He knows what's appropriate." I shook my head. I'd still like to see the actual documents. My father's expression hardened. "Cassie, don't be difficult." There it was, his warning tone. "This is already decided. Eric and Shannon will move in November 1st. You need to make arrangements. I stood up. Not angrily. Deliberately. I formally request copies of the trust documents, the building deed, and any paperwork that gives you the authority to terminate my residency. My father's face reddened. You don't need paperwork. I'm telling you as your father and as the trust manager. Then as the current resident, I replied calmly. I am requesting formal documentation of this eviction. My mother gasped. It's not an eviction, she said sharply. It's family helping family. Then there should be documentation of the terms, I said. I left before the conversation could spiral further. The moment I stepped outside, my phone began vibrating relentlessly. 17 messages in the family group chat before I even reached my car. Eric calling me selfish. Mom saying I was breaking her heart. Aunt Cameron chiming in that family should come first. I drove home in silence, knuckles tight on the steering wheel. When I reached the apartment, they were already planning to take from me. I didn't sit down. I walked straight to my filing cabinet. Because 4 years earlier, when my grandfather was dying in a hospital bed, something crucial had happened. Something my entire family had forgotten. He had called me there alone. Not my father. Not Eric. Just me. His hand had been weak, but his mind was sharp. Cassie, he whispered, gripping my fingers. I've changed the trust. I tried to stop him. Grandpa, you should rest. He shook his head. No, you need to listen. He told me everything. He had amended the trust. He had transferred the entire building at 1247 Westbrook directly to me, effective upon his death. Not to the family. Not to my father. To me. He had already filed the paperwork. He knew my father wouldn't read it. He knew my father would assume everything remained under his control. Why me? I had asked him then. He smiled faintly. Because you asked what I wanted instead of telling me what I should do. 2 weeks later, he passed away. A month after that, his attorney sent me the amended trust documents and the official deed transfer. For 4 years, I had quietly owned the entire building. 6 units. One of them mine. No family trust involved. I had never told anyone. Instead, I had managed the property responsibly. Collected rent from the other 5 tenants, paid property taxes, handled maintenance, upgraded plumbing, electrical systems, security, and roofing. Built a reserve fund. Turned a struggling old building into a well-maintained, valuable asset. What my grandfather had bought for $340,000 in 1987 was now worth $2.1 million, and my family thought they could evict me from my own property. If you're enjoying this story so far, give it a like. It really helps the channel reach more listeners. On Monday morning, I called my attorney, Patricia Chin. She had helped me professionally manage the property for years, updating leases, ensuring legal compliance, securing proper insurance, and making everything airtight. Patricia, I said quietly, my family is trying to evict me from my own building. She listened without interrupting. Then she laughed, a sharp, confident legal laugh. Do they know you own it? No, they think it's in a family trust managed by my father. And does he have any documentation proving that authority? None that's valid. Patricia didn't hesitate. Then this is simple. They have no authority to evict you. They don't own the property. I swallowed hard. They're planning to move in November 1st. Eric is already packing my things. Her tone turned serious immediately. He's entering your apartment without permission. Yes, that's illegal entry. And possibly theft. She paused. Cassie, I need you to be clear. Do you want to educate your family, or do you want to establish firm legal boundaries? I thought about everything. My father's control. My mother's dismissal. Eric discussing my salary. Their assumption that my needs didn't matter. 4 years of invisible labor managing this building while they all believed my father was in charge. Firm legal boundaries, I said. Wednesday afternoon. My phone started ringing. Stop. Dad. Eric. Mom. I let every call go to voicemail. Their messages were frantic. What is this legal letter? Why are lawyers involved? How could you do this to your own family? The letter Patricia had sent was clear, direct, and devastating. It stated that I was the sole legal owner of 1247 Westbrook, that no other family member had authority over occupancy, that any attempt to remove my belongings or change locks would be treated as a legal eviction, and that legal action would follow immediately. She had also sent a cease and desist specifically to Eric after discovering he had used my mother's old emergency key to enter my apartment 3 times in 1 week. By Thursday morning, another family meeting was called, this time in my father's home office. The confidence was gone. Explain. This, he demanded, sliding Patricia's letter across his desk. The building is mine, I said calmly. Grandpa transferred it to me before he died. I've owned it for 4 years. My father stared at me in disbelief. That's impossible. The trust was amended. You received copies in 2020. You didn't read them. His face went pale. You're saying Grandpa cut me out? No, I replied evenly. He gave you 3 other properties, the commercial building downtown, the Riverside duplex, and the Oakmont Strip Mall. I received 1247 Westbrook. He scrambled through files, pulling out thick folders, flipping pages faster and faster. My mother leaned over his shoulder, reading silently. Then she whispered, stunned. It says, the residential building at 1247 Westbrook is transferred to Cassandra Morrison upon Harold Morrison's death. Eric shot to his feet. Why didn't you tell us? Because Grandpa asked me not to, I replied. He knew Dad wouldn't read the paperwork, and he was right. Silence filled the room. The truth had landed, and it changed everything. The days after that first confrontation felt like stepping into a war zone without a map. I woke up each morning with my phone buzzing before my alarm, the display flashing. My father's name, then Eric's, then Shannon's, over and over. Voicemails, texts, even emails, a relentless flood of disbelief, indignation, and thinly veiled threats. It wasn't just a family dispute anymore. It was a challenge to every boundary I had ever set, a test of my resolve and, though I didn't realize it yet, the very spark that would ignite my plan for total control. I spent Monday morning reviewing Patricia's advice again, making sure every letter, every document, every piece of evidence was airtight. Her voice replayed in my mind. Firm legal boundaries, Cassie. Not emotional explanations. Legal boundaries. And she was right. I had spent years trying to be considerate, trying to manage family relationships, trying to keep peace. That approach had made me vulnerable. Now there would be no compromises. By Tuesday, the first serious confrontation arrived. I returned from a coffee shop to find Eric rifling through the second bedroom, the one I used as my office. Boxes stacked precariously around him, documents scattered, my laptop barely protected under a pile of clothing. What are you doing? I asked, voice steady but firm. He looked up, startled for half a second, then smirked. Helping you pack. You're being stubborn, Cass. Shannon and I need this apartment. We're moving in, with or without your cooperation. I didn't flinch. I took a slow step toward him. Eric, you are trespassing. He shrugged, tossing a folder onto the floor. You can call Dad. He agrees. With me? No, I said calmly, pulling out my phone. I'm calling the police. You have no authority here. He hesitated, the first crack in his confidence. But arrogance dies slowly. You can't do that. I'm your brother. I didn't argue. I dialed the dispatcher and spoke clearly. My brother has entered my apartment without permission and is refusing to leave. I request an immediate police response. I stood firmly in the doorway, blocking him from carrying out his unauthorized packing. He realized this wasn't a bluff. 12 minutes later, the police arrived. Eric tried to explain it as a family misunderstanding. He waved his hands, flustered. It's just a miscommunication. You don't understand, it's supposed to be mine. The officers didn't even look sympathetic. They examined the building deed, my ownership documents, and Patricia's cease and desist. Sir, one said to Eric, you must leave immediately. This is the property of Cassandra Morrison. If you return without explicit permission, you will be arrested for trespassing. Eric stormed out, humiliated and furious, leaving boxes behind like a battlefield retreat.